Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Road to National Master, and this time we are facing off against Ricardo Japaisu, and he is rated 1974. And before we get into the game, I have an announcement to make. So basically, what's gonna happen is this month, on the 29th, I am going to be playing in a national championship. Let's go. A national championship, guys, which is going to be the biggest tournament I've ever played in my life up to this point. And yeah, so the whole point of me playing this tournament here, which I'm playing now, the Brasiliense Clássico, is kind of like preparation to see like more or less how I'll score there in the tournament. And I'm playing in the under 2000 section, so this is like more or less the racing range that I'll look to be playing against, this kind of like 1970 kind of stuff. Yeah, I think the top seed in the under 2000 there is 1986 or something, somewhere along those lines. So this is more or less the rating range which I need to be winning against to have a good shot at the tournament. So yeah, this was a very important game for me, and I was really taking it seriously, as I do in all my games. But anyways, so right now I am 1 out of 2. So this is the third round. I've won a game, I've lost a game. Unfortunately, that was a very unfortunate game, but amazing prep. You should check that out if you haven't seen that already. And without further ado, let's get into today's game. So what happened is he played c4, and c4 is basically going to like the English opening. And yeah, yesterday was in English. Today is in English as well. So yeah, I'm not uncomfortable here because I did do really well in my prep yesterday. So I would be very happy to see that position again. I don't think he was going to play that because he plays a system with knight g2 here instead of f3, which we'll see right now. So knight c3, g6, planning to fianchetto with the bishop, g3, and he also goes for this fianchetto setup. Excuse my nose because I've got some allergies today. So if you hear like a nuclear detonation, that's not a bomb, that's just me sneezing. Bishop g2, castles, and then e4 here. So this is different from the other game. We could have reached a similar position, but in this case, he's went and played e4 immediately. And so here, I just go d6. He can play d4 if he wants to. He chooses not to and plays knight g2. And okay, since he's played this, I will not give him the d4 square. I'll play c5 now. And now if he wants to play d4, he's going to have to trade his d pawn for my c pawn. And usually that's very typical in the Sicilian. And yeah, this would be kind of like a Maroxy bind structure for the white pieces, except you fianchetto with your bishop, which is kind of irregular here. So yeah, this is a way you can play the English, and c5 is just controlling d4. Castles by him. Knight c6, just developing my pieces to the most natural square possible. And then d3, because yeah, you can't really play d4 without building it up first. So we've reached the point where I'd say this is the beginning of the middle game, and now I need to come up with a plan with the black side and figure out really what I want to do. Sure, I can develop my bishop, but it's not really clear where this bishop wants to go to. It can come to like d7, can come to e6, can come to g4 sometimes. So it's really not clear where the bishop wants to go. So for now, I'll just keep it on c8 and I'll create a plan. So the plan I created is around playing on the queen side, and I really want to go for this break on the b5 square. So I play a6, kind of preparing to play a future b5 when it's possible. Of course not now, because if take, and the knight takes, I'd be losing a pawn there. So he goes rook b1, kind of playing for the same idea. He wants to play for his b4, so I want to play b5. He wants to play b4, so we're kind of matching each other in that way. And sure, I'm up for the challenge. Rook b8, and it seems like I'm the first one to break, because for him to play b4, he'd have to play like a3 into b4. I can just play b4 in the next move, so he can't play his break first, which means he has to play a4, kind of stopping my break. And by playing a4, his pawn is not on a3 anymore, and you can't support this push as well, so this push would come at a much greater cost for the white side. But it does prevent me from playing this, it does prevent me from playing b5, so there is this. So how do I go about this? Well, I've had a very similar position in the past, and really what I missed in the other game was I played stuff like, okay, I think I played bishop d7, and then I played for the break with like knight a7, but I'm kind of compromising the bishop to the d7 square, and at the same time I'm moving the knight away from c6 to a7, which isn't a really good square. So I come up with a different plan, and this time I've learned from my mistakes, and I play knight e8, which is a good move. And knight e8 has the idea of rerouting the knight from e8 to c7, that's not c7, c7, and then playing for the break because my knight supports it. Moreover, by playing knight e8, my bishop controls d4 some more, which is really important here. Yeah, so this would be really good. Unfortunately, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and he plays bishop b3 because he's a decent player. He knows what he has to do in these positions. Since he can't play on the queen side, he's going to play in the center. There's that principle where if your opponent plays on the flanks, you play in the center. This is exactly what's going on. I want to play on the flanks, he plays in the center. He really wants d4 now, and d4 is kind of like unstoppable at this point, except for a very obscure idea which I missed in the game. So I was thinking, okay, well, at this point, d4 is inevitable. And it's good to point out that he arrived late to the game. So he was down 15 minutes. And then after my next move, he was actually up time, like 3 minutes or something. But that slowly increases for him during the game. Anyways, so here I'm feeling really uncomfortable, having no clue what to do, because you just can't stop d4. Right? It seems like there's nothing you can do. Like, let's say I try to block this up by going knight to d4. And if you take with the knight, of course, you're losing because of knight takes and pawn takes. Congratulations, you just got forked here. And yeah, you're going to have to lose one of these two pieces. So this would not be ideal. So yeah, again, but knight d4 is a problem. Because yes, I do kind of clog up the d4 square, but it takes away from my defense of b4. This is no longer a thing now, which means that he can just very easily play his b5 push, and then this would be very good for him. Not b5, b4. Yeah, and then I've kind of given him the plan that I want to play myself, which is not nice. Like, first of all, yeah, this would not work again, but b4 immediately would work, and then I'm feeling not comfortable in these positions. So, yeah, this I didn't like. The obscure idea I was talking about, which holds the position, is bishop g4, and it's not really clear how this works, because after bishop g4, there's just a very simple f3. I saw this, and I saw I can play like, okay, bishop d7, and I'm controlling this this b5 square a bit more. But then again, d4. But this was the way to play. The engine says this was the way to play, and just accept that he has this push, and use your bishop to defend. I can't really tell the difference between knight to c7 and bishop d7. They both control c5. Sorry, they both control b5. And yeah, we would reach something like this, and then play knight c7, which I completely missed, of course, as it's very hard to see this as being good for the black side, because there's stuff like b6, right? Like, let's say b6, hitting the knight, but then the knight just goes to b5. It is doing a very nice job, and our idea is now going to be to trade bishops. And then once the queen takes b6, forces a queen trade. He's got this isolated pawn, which is more of a weakness because it's blockaded by my knight on b5. So this knight stands really well. And yeah, this is kind of like the idea we'd have to play for, like trying to capture these pawns, which is what I did in the game, but it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, and we'll see why in a minute. So Yeah, and if you play after knight c7, bishop takes yourself, then king takes, queen d4 check, king g8, b6 anyways, knight b5, we hit the queen of tempo, and okay, even if you take my knight with your knight, bishop takes, your rook has to move, and then I take on b6. Same story, basically. I missed all of this, of course, and I played knight c7 like a human being, and then he plays d4, and I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'm still gonna stick to my plans, right? So takes. There's really not a reason not to stick to my plans and play b5, because I've made all this effort anyways to bring my knight around like this. If I don't play b5, it's just kind of not justifying the idea, and my knight doesn't sit nicely because there aren't many squares they can jump to. It could jump to e6, of course, but not many ideas. Let's say bishop takes g7, king takes g7, and what's the knight really doing there? Okay, maybe knight c5, but again, not clear. He plays b4, a lot of space for him. That looks very scary. So, yeah, I mean, b5. There's nothing else, right? Bishop takes, forces king takes. And then he, of course, could play queen to d4 check. He chooses not to. He plays c takes, a takes, and then b4, which I was not expecting. I was not expecting b4, but it makes lots of sense. You're playing to make this this b4 pawn more of a strength than a weakness by trying to push it as far as possible until it reaches the point where it's actually a problem for black to deal with, and then it becomes like really hard to deal with this pawn, and it becomes like you can queen in the future, and if you queen, of course, you're gonna win the game, whatnot. So, yeah, takes, queen takes, and here is really where I make an imprecision, and it's not clear why this is an imprecision to me. I play bishop d7, which looks extremely natural, and apparently he can just play b5. And I was calculating this, queen e8. Well, first of all, my very first thought at the board was something along the lines of knight takes, and then queen here, with the idea that you're pinned, but then you can just play queen to a1 check, and then you're kind of out of the pin, and black is down a piece, so this would not work. So my second thought was let the engine load up, because it's actually frozen. And we'll just give it a second. Anyways, let me know, guys. What's your rating? What kind of openings do you play? What kind of stuff are you scared to face on the chessboard? And yeah, I mean, let me know what you play. How's your chess going? What's your FIDE rating at, if you guys have a FIDE rating? Do you guys have any goals, like reaching National Master or something? Or maybe you guys... Okay, so bishop d7. And b5, there's queen e8. And after queen e8, then the queen is pinned, of course. You can give this check. And here, I'd have to be very active very quickly, because I can't allow b6. Well, I mean, b6 will come. I have to play e5 to get out of the discovered check. And then b6. Knight e6 would have to be the move. Rook fd1 is just an example move here, hitting this very weak d6 pawn. And if you guys haven't seen the last game I've posted for round 2, you should check that out. And this is like game 2 is the whole reason why I was just traumatized by playing e5. Like, I really didn't want to play e5 this game, because the reason I lost the game yesterday was because I had this backwards pawn, and it became just a huge threat for white to capture this. I should mention that I've had the black side twice, so that's very unfortunate. So yeah, this would be like, yeah, not ideal for me. But then, okay, I guess knight d4 can defend this pawn. Knight d5, and then his pawn is very secure on b6. And then I'd kind of have to play for some ideas like blockading the position and slowly trying to capture the pawn. Something like bishop c6, queen d7, rook b7, rook fb8, and then just try and capture the pawn somehow. Maybe after bishop takes, pawn takes, then I can take. But again, this is just very optimistic, of course, and white will add some complications to the position. I did not enjoy this position at all. Yeah, I just really didn't want this to happen because I was trying to learn from my mistakes that happened last game. So I play bishop d7. Unfortunately for me, he misses this idea and plays queen a1 with the idea of the discovered attack. And of course here the engine gives e5 as a move. I didn't want to get into any of those complications because I'd rather have just the king go back, which is what I play, and I kind of solve the problem at the same time. So, okay, this seems a lot more reasonable from a human perspective. Rook fc1, knight b5, knight takes, bishop takes, and then I'm still blockading. My bishop is now blockading, and it feels like the more pieces we trade down, the easier it gets for me to capture this pawn, or the easier it will get. So I'm very happy about trading all these pieces. Notice as well that it's a queenside pawn, which means that it's difficult for the kings to reach. So yeah, I think I'm not sure if my king gets there first. I'm really not sure. Okay, I don't, but it seems like I can defend the position pretty well. If anything, I can blockade on the b file with my king. So yeah, this seems like the pawn won't be promoting, and I feel like I'm very comfortable in these positions. And he plays queen a7, which is a huge threat now. Queen a7. Queen a7 is just like you're just chilling at home and someone just walks in through the door and is taking everything from your fridge. Like, dude, can you please leave me alone? Like, get out of my house. Like, this queen infiltrating is very annoying. He's just planning to play like rook here and then just take all these pawns. And yeah, it's all my pieces are stuck on this 8th rank, and his pieces are all coming to the 7th rank, which is extremely annoying. So yeah, not happy. I'm not happy about this at all, so I'm trying to kick the queen out. And I play rook a8 here, but the problem with rook a8 is he just goes queen c7, offers a queen trade. I can never take, of course, because if I take, then this would happen. And oops, that would definitely not happen. I could only hope. And then this would happen. Yeah, IRL mouse lib. Who's never? I mean, I've never, but okay. So this would happen, then this pawn would be weak. I'd be kind of forced to either play rook here or pawn push. Pawn push has its problems, of course, like we've mentioned, and rook to e8 looks very passive. Yeah, that looks very annoying. So this would not be good for me. So yeah, queen c7. I go rook c8. I don't accept the trade. I'm forcing him to trade on my terms if he wants to, and if he wants to trade like if like this, I'll be glad to trade like this because my rook is now very active and in the game. His is not. So rook c8 was a good, interesting move. If he plays, okay, yeah, so he plays this move now, queen a5. The idea being here's my bishop, and I need to defend it. So queen d7. And now he plays bishop h3. And at this point, I'm down really bad on the clock. Like, I have 5 minutes compared to his 20 minutes. Absurd. It's absurd how much time trouble I get into. Like, I try to play the best moves possible. Like, I had to calculate a lot of stuff in that middle game. And now I'm just down bad on the clock. I was thinking, sure, maybe I can take on h3, and he can take my bishop, something along the lines of, let's say, takes, and then, yeah, I'm never going to checkmate this guy. It's just not going to happen. His king is too safe. And he has a passed pawn, and it's not blockaded, so this was very scary. And it was really hard to come up with a plan here. A plan that worked, like let's say we move the rook over, let's say he moves the queen over. I mean, what do I do here, really? He's just threatening to push. Like, sure, maybe I can double up here. Maybe I can attack this this e4 pawn for some tempo, but really not clear. Maybe he doesn't have to care about this e4 pawn and he can just push. Yeah, this was uncomfortable for me. I had a hard time calculating this. And like I said, calculation was a problem for me the whole tournament through, so this was no exception, of course. This was just really tough for me. Now that I look at it, maybe queen e6 or queen d7 would be nice. Queen d7, if he plays rook c7, then queen b5. But he takes on f. Yeah, he takes on e7, which is annoying. Oh no, you can't play that. So I take the queen. Okay, so maybe queen takes, rook takes, and then he takes the pawn. But then I play rook fb8. Yeah, it wasn't hell to deal with. I could have played it out this way, but yeah. e6. And it's tough to play a move like e6 when you've literally just played a game where you lost by playing e6 and you do it again. And like, okay, I was very happy that I did find this move, e6, because it was just like a way of saying that I have truly learned from my mistakes, but I've learned to actually evaluate whether it's good or not and make a decision which is very practical off of that. So e6 was very practical here, just because I can keep my pieces on the queen side. His bishop is limited now, so which is why he plays bishop f1. And here, I'm feeling really good about the position because I see this very important line here. First of all, I have to play rook takes c1, and after rook takes, bishop takes, king takes, rook b8, rook c7, completely forced, queen b5 check, forcing a queen trade, and then this is a drawn position. This is a drawn endgame. And it's drawn, but if anyone has chances, it's the black side. So I'm really happy about this. It's like white is playing to draw or lose. That's the two results possible. Black is playing to win or draw. So I'm happy about this. Rook c4, the obvious defense, defending both pawns. d5 was too premature, I think. Maybe looking in hindsight, it was better to just walk the king up and then go for like a plan like this to push in the future and be okay. I completely missed this, of course, because I'm in time trouble. I've got like 1 minute on the clock. d5. Okay, 1 minute. What do? I play. Okay, take. I'm panicking here. I don't know what to do. Rook d4. King g7. Bring the king in. And king e2. I've got 1 minute. It's not a digital clock. It's analog, which means if my time drops, I'm dead. That's it. GG. There's no increment, and I'm done. I've lost the game on time. So, I mean, it's incredible how I actually used time to calculate here, which I shouldn't have been doing. He's got like 5 minutes at this point. I've got like 1 minute, 1 minute 10. It's hard to tell because it's the analog clock. So here, I was looking at variations with like king f6, king d3, king e5, f4, king d6. And I didn't like that he had this f4 move because positionally what happens here is he cuts off this square is cut off, this one's cut off, this one's cut off, and the rook cuts off these squares for my king. And really my rook is in the way of my king getting to the queen side, so if you look at it, there's no viable way for my king to get into the queen side. There's just no way for my king to do it. Whereas his king has this very simple maneuver. And then this was kind of scary. Of course, this is still a draw, 100%, but it's at least something for him, you know? So this was scary. Which is why I didn't play king g7 immediately. Oh, sorry, I did play king g7, so this was played, king e2, but here I play g5. And the idea of g5 is kind of like trying to stop his push, his f4 push, but it just doesn't make sense because king d3, king f6, king c3, king f5, trying to be clever, not going to the e5 square. But he plays f4 anyways. And I take, he can even play rook takes here, which would be even more winning chances for him. But he plays takes like this, and this is where the notation ends because I'm in serious time trouble. I'm not annotating the moves, and he's in time trouble now. He's got like 3 minutes, so none of us are obligated to annotate the game. And yeah, we're just playing from here. I get into serious time pressure and I just lose the game. That's literally what happens. I get into trouble, I try to hold the position, I flag, and I lose, which is unfortunate. So, yeah, it's hard to lose a position which is so drawn. Like, it's tough on the soul, it really hurts. Existentially, it makes you want to just never play chess again. But, you know, it is what it is, and I did play a good game. If you guys are curious about the precision this game, I played a 98.6 and my opponent played a 98.7. He was point 0.1 better than me, point 0.1 better, and he won the game because of it. Of course, it was a draw, but point 0.1, that is devastating. We both played a really high precision game, so I'm proud of that at least. And yeah, so just didn't work out the way I would like it to. That's life. I'll see you guys for round 4, which will be a lot more interesting. And yeah, stay tuned for that. And I'll see you guys later. See ya.